20. 20 years. Can you see it all? Can you see the floor? Don't you lie to me, God will kill you in this church. Hey, that thing ain't tight, yeah. Make her brain come up inside the top. 20 years? Now, Darla, here's the problem. You got to trust me. Because you're fixing to step into some stuff that's real scary. Okay? Now, what I want you to do, well, that's okay, I can fix it right here. I don't want you hearing me over the intercom. I want to make sure they can hear me. I'm going to turn this down. And I don't want you to hear me over the intercom unless I want you to hear me where I'm standing. Because what's going to happen is you're going to have to step around and in and some stuff, and you're going to have to do some stuff, and you're going to have to move as I tell you to move, and if you don't, you're going to get hurt. But the problem of it is you got to come out of where you at. And don't you mind to go back to where you were in the worst of places. I know this is tough. Don't you mind to go back to the worst of places. You said, God, use me so today's the day He's going to use me. And as we move through life, and God's making steps as He did with the children of Israel, He even gave them specific directions on where to go. He even told them, He said, I'm not going to take you by the way of the war. There was a war raging. He said, I'm going to take you by the way of the wilderness. In other words, when God brings you out of slavery, it ain't always going to be the way you want to get out. Some of you sitting in here today, you can't worship God. You love this church and you love the word, but you can't worship God because of things that happened to you way back when. You know what Satan's doing? He's the taskmaster, and he's got a whip of removing your joy. You lost your joy somewhere along the way. And Christians are that way. I said a while ago, and I get this was a statement. But they start out serving God. They start out loving God. And then one day they take a turn somewhere, and something happens, something tragic, something happens, somebody upset them. And all of a sudden now their entire obsession leaves. What obsession? The obsession of God that they once had in their faith. You don't need to fall. Let me just make this statement. You don't need to fall in love with Moses. You need to fall in love with the God of Moses. Because you're going to read down the road where Moses died. And what are you going to do when everything around you dies? There's going to be nothing left but God. And this is the relationship that we have to form. And how do you form that relationship enough to come out of where you are? It doesn't matter if it's personal, financial, spiritually, or emotionally. How do you come out from where you are? God said, something's going to die, first of all, so you can come out. And a lamb decided to die in your place. They're behind closed doors. They're behind a glass darkly. They can't see what's going on. But the Bible says clearly that there was a cry and a wail that went out across Egypt unlike they'd ever heard in their life, as death was all around them. And they're inside the door of this house. They put their trust in the lamb's blood. Moses said, we're coming out in the morning. How are we going to get out? Well, you take a step. And daughter, when you step lightly. Now, stop. If I don't say step, you don't move. If I say step over, you step over something. If I say right, you go right. If I say left, you go left. What you need to focus on right now is not whatever's in front of you. You listen to my voice. Because my voice is the only thing that's going to save you. God said, you're going to come out. You ready to come out? Then watch this. Step over whatever's in front of you. Step. Step. Stop. Take one step to the right. There's something in front of you. Go right. Straight right. No, that's up. That's forward. There we go. That's straight right. Step ahead. Step ahead. Here's where we get sideways. It's when God goes silent. When God goes silent, we are so keen to noise, we don't know what to do in the silence. This is why when they got to the Red Sea, they began to murmur and complain and began to go off on God and go off on Moses. And it's amazing what Moses told him. He said, shh, stand still. You'll see the salvation of the Lord many times in your life when you stand still and be still and know that He is God. Now I'm going to ask you to walk, but I'm not going to talk. If you need me, you're going to have to say, help me. You need to turn a little bit. Turn toward my voice. Follow my voice. And just walk. You see, all that she knows is slavery. All she knows is pain. All she knows. But the very fact that she can trust me enough to even get this far. I'm going to hold your hand. Step over with me. Now watch. Spin around. Spin around. Spin around. And then comes a storm. And then comes a storm. And your whole life's in a storm and God's not talking to you. But you got to walk. All she knows is pain. All she knows is slavery. This is the only life she's ever had, and this is the only life you've ever had. It's the only life I've ever had. And I'm going to tell you something. There's something about walking with God. There's something about walking with God. And the reason many times people don't get out is we have too much pride to say, Lord, I need your help. Or I can't. I love what the old songwriter said. I can't even walk without Him holding my hand. And you're here today, and maybe it's been drugs. You know what? You need some help. You're not going to crawl. And the greatest help we have is the illustration that is set before us. I want you to know something. That blood protected them, and that blood provided for them when they left. Think about this. They were on the inside of the door, protected by God through the blood of Christ. But when they left to go out of that slavery, they had to walk through the blood. They had to walk past it. They had to walk right through it. It was the blood that protected them, and it was the blood that kept them, and it was the blood that was going to move them. And you're not going to come out of where you are until you finally come to this realization. My finances are jacked up. I need help. Sir, there is no shame in that game. There is shame in the pride that stops you and your family from progressing through life. I'm an emotional wreck. My past is killing me. Then there's help at the foot of the cross. But you have not, because you, say that with me, you. Now you got to walk. God's telling somebody in this church today, you got to walk. God told me coming to church this morning, this is somebody's last night in Egypt. I will keep him in perfect peace. Who's mine? You got to walk, Darla, you got to walk. She said, help. Then she did something strange just now. I don't know if you caught that. She said, Robin, help me. And so now, you may not need help, but you know somebody else that needs help. You say, I've tried, preacher. I've tried to get them out of this. I've tried to get them out of depression, anxiety. I've tried to get them off of drugs. I've tried to get them out of this. I've tried to get them out of that. How do you do it? How do you do it? You get a hold of one hand with them and one hand with God. You reach out to people and reach up to God. And you said, Lord, I can't fix them, but I know you can. God, they're a slave in this situation. They're in bondage. And they need out. It's called intercessory prayer, where we intercede for the one that's in slavery. Heads are bowed, eyes are closed in this building today.